There are four scenarios to consider when deciding whether to buy or sell a home first. For many homeowners in the Philadelphia suburbs, the most stressful move you'll make is not the first one. It is stressful, but the most stressful is typically that move up move. Maybe it's your second, maybe it's your third move, but it's stressful because you're both buying a home and selling a home at the same time. The stakes feel high because they are. So, what are the risks involved? You could miss out on the home of your dreams. You could miss out on that home you want. You could be carrying two mortgages at the same time and feeling that financial pressure. You could be forced into a rush sale of your home, not getting fair market value because your timing was misaligned. Or you could overpay just to make the timing work. In 2026, where rates currently stand, in a highly buyer competitive market in the Philly suburbs, the order of operations of this decision matters more than ever. So this video will break down the four frameworks I describe to clients who are looking to buy and sell at the same time, and it will explain how to choose out of those four the best option that fits your needs. Before I dive into that, I would love to keep giving you guys information about real estate generally, about real estate in the Philadelphia suburbs. So if you wouldn't mind subscribing below, liking below, I would really appreciate it. Okay, shameless plug over. Let's get into these options. Okay, so let's talk about why selling and buying simultaneously is so difficult, particularly in the Philadelphia suburbs. So it seems easy in theory. We'll just list our home, we'll get a sense of when it's about to go, then we look and buy, we can basically just line it up. They'll happen ideally on the same day, and you're just switching homes essentially. So in practice, what you're actually trying to do is you're trying to align two different contracts, you're trying to align two different sets of negotiations, you're trying to align a multitude of inspections, you're trying to align not only yours, but some other buyers' pre-approval. You're trying to align both of your financing, and you personally are making two huge decisions. You might have been in this home for a decade. Maybe you've raised your kids in this home. Maybe this is the home you grew up in. You're selling a home. It's a big deal. But you're also buying a home. You're buying that home that maybe it's making space for the kids. Maybe you're making sure that they're getting an ideal education in your mind. Whatever it might be, there's a lot that goes into making this decision. So all of these personal factors are overlaid on top of a foundation of relatively high interest rates, certainly higher than a few years ago. You're dealing with a highly competitive buyer market where inventory is still constrained. So even if there are not a ton of buyers in the market, there certainly are not a ton of homes available right now. So you're still seeing heavy buyer competition, and you're fighting for good schools. You're fighting for people relocating from both DC and New York. There are a lot of factors in play in what is already a stressful decision. So let's talk about how to ease some of this stress and figure out which approach is right for you and your home selling/buying experience. So the four common buy-sell strategies. The first, sell first and then buy. Everyone I think knows what that is. The next one you'll also know, buy first and then sell. The third one, buy with a home sale contingency baked into the contract. We'll dive into exactly how that works and some of the pros and cons. And then the fourth option is using a bridge loan or some other type of financing to bridge the gap. Each of them has trade-offs. None of them are perfect across the board, despite what someone might tell you. They're not telling you the full truth. But the goal is about control over the transactions, not necessarily perfection. So let's dive in. Let's talk about sell first, then buy. So how it works, I'm sure you can fill this in. It's not that hard to figure out how it works. You list and sell your current home, and you close, and then with the proceeds from that closing, you go out, find the home of your dreams, and buy it. It's just that simple, right? Well, there are certainly pros to it. It provides you with the maximum level of certainty. You know you have the money for that next home. You know your home is sold. there is a value to the risk-averse home buyer. There's no double mortgage risk. There's strong buying confidence once you're under contract or closed, and you get very clean financing, especially maybe you have a lot of equity in your home that you're pulling out. You could be one of those frustrating people that can put in an all cash or a cash heavy offer that ruins a bunch of other first time home buyers times. I'm not jealous at all, but there are cons to this strategy as well. The strategy being sell then buy. You may need temporary housing, whether that's getting a long-term rental, maybe it's moving in with your parents, a friend, in-laws, whatever it might be. And that might not be a negative to some people. That might be, yeah, this is great. I love these people. I'm going to have a nice time here. No stress in the two transactions, and then move up. If that's the case, this is the right strategy for you. You also need flexibility on move timing and a willingness to bear with some potential delays in that interim. But this does minimize risk and makes this one of the safer of the four options. So let's talk about buy first and then sell. So again, how it works, pretty straightforward. Buy your next home, then once you're closed on that, sell your current home, and then go ahead and move in. What that leads to is you carrying two homes, at least temporarily. I have not heard of any scenarios where someone has bought a home, sold their home on the exact same day, and it's just been a clean split like that. There's going to be at least a little bit of time if you do it amazingly. Maybe it's just a couple days, maybe it's a week or two. That's very manageable, but if you are going to take this route, you should plan for a longer holding of these two mortgages. So the pros of this, though, before we get back into some of the potential cons. Pros: no need to move twice, which is lovely. Everyone hates moving. It's a nightmare. You don't have to call your buddy with a truck and offer him beer and pizza. Beer and pizza. Also, let's come up with something new. I can get myself beer and pizza. I don't want to help you move. Let's figure out something that's going to get me there. Anyway, there's less pressure on your purchase decision. You're not rushing to do it. You can find the home of your dreams, figure it all out, get all of your financing in order, and then it'll be good to go, so you don't miss out on the one. However, there are cons to this side, especially for more financially risk-averse individuals. One, you will, for at least a little bit, be carrying two mortgages. If you can handle that, more power to you. But if not, this can be an extremely stressful financial time for you, leading to higher financial exposure. So the risk, if your current home takes longer to sell, you're just extending that financial exposure. And you may have less negotiating leverage when selling, which can be tough depending on the market that you're in. So when it works best, if you have large cash reserves, this can be a good strategy for you. If you have very predictable sale value. Hi, Peppy. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Or if you have conservative pricing strategy on the sale, this can be a good option for you. Okay, diving into strategy number 3, buy with a home sale contingency. This is probably the most misunderstood option of the 3. So let's take a second, explain how it works, and then we can dive into the pros and the cons. So you make an offer contingent on selling your home. So this will be baked into your initial offer. If your offer is accepted, it'll be baked into the contract. Usually there's some sort of time limit on it. The seller's not going to wait there indefinitely while your home sells. I mean, maybe they will. Maybe it's your grandma. That's awesome. She'll wait a while because she loves you. Most sellers don't love you. They want to get a good price for their home. So the seller has to agree to wait, and then you start searching for someone to take that home off of your hands that you're currently in. So the pros: this does absolutely limit your financial risk. This is as close as you're going to get typically to that move in, move out, same day scenario. And you avoid that issue of double carrying costs that you had in the buy first scenario. The cons, and this is why I don't typically recommend these, especially in more seller leaning markets or in markets where there's low inventory and buyer demand kind of naturally stays higher because they're fighting over fewer homes. Your offer's just going to be less competitive. I know when my wife and I were buying this home, we always talked about how there's going to be two batches of offers. One are these that we're going to read through. These are serious offers that we're going to consider. And then there's going to be another stack of offers that, for whatever reason, back then it was if you were asking for all inspections, you're basically getting put in the get out of my face pile. But oftentimes, if you're asking for this contingent sale, you're going to be in that get out of my face pile. And for a lot of people, maybe just the stress of knowing that they're not going to double carry, they're going to have more of a move in, move out scenario. They're fine with being in that pile until they find some seller who's going to put them in the let's look at it pile. But for a lot of people, especially in the current state of today's Philly suburbs market, that's just not a pile you want to be in. And I think that's the biggest detractor from these sale contingency options. The other con of the sale contingency option is it can require aggressive pricing on your current home. And by that I mean listing it lower than you otherwise would like to, so that it moves and so you can get into this new home. If that's a trade-off you're willing to take because maybe you found the home of your dreams, you don't want to lose out on it, you promise these people you're going to be in there in 3 weeks and you need to move your home in what amounts to essentially a week or two, maybe you are willing to eat that drop in price because of how much you like this new place. Maybe you just have a time crunch, maybe it's a new job. So in scenarios like that, it might make sense for you. But in scenarios where you're trying to maximize the value of your current home so that you can purchase this next home, maybe it's a dream home, this might not be the best of the 4 options to choose for you. So let's get into the 4th option, bridge loans and temporary financing. So this one certainly has some upside, but the downside can be pretty big depending on the state of the market you're in and how you have structured it. So again, maybe not for the risk averse individual. So how they work, it's a bridge loan or any kind of temporary financing in this scenario is a short-term loan secured by your current home. So it allows you to buy before you sell your current home. When you do sell your current home, the proceeds go to paying off this bridge loan. So the pros of this, strong buying power and combined with no sale contingency. So you're not necessarily automatically in that I'm not even going to look at you at all pile. You get a structure so that you can be in that actually reviewed, let's look at this and make an amazing decision pile. And part and parcel with that is you get cleaner offer presentation, which matters to some sellers. For some sellers, it's just give me the best price, and that's all they care about. Both can be right depending on your scenario. So the cons, you could be dealing with higher interest rates here. Now with rates already up compared to what they have been 3 or 4 years ago, some people just want to avoid it for this specific reason. You're also going to deal with fees. So prices may come up and they can sneak up on you. They can come up fast. You also have strict qualification requirements. Not everyone qualifies for bridge loans. So this 4th option might not even really be an option for you, and that's fine. The other 3 can be worked to fit anyone's needs. And so there's big risk too if the sale is delayed. That's when you see these interest rates really start to take hold. You could end up paying a lot of money, and this is the biggest downside that a lot of people want to avoid. And it makes sense. I'd want to avoid these, frankly, personally. However, if it works for you, we can absolutely make that work. This might be ideal for you. So let's talk about the biggest lever that you can control in all of these scenarios is your pricing when you're selling your home. So many problems arise because sellers, 1, overprice their current home. We're seeing this a lot in the market right now. Buyers typically adjust faster than sellers. 2, it can delay listing, or if you choose to delay listing, that can be a major problem because then the timing of a lot of these scenarios gets thrown off. And assuming that you will adjust the price later. There are a litany of issues that come from that. Mostly it's now buyers are looking at your home like, what do other people know I don't? Maybe this isn't the home for me, so you're almost driving down demand on your own home. in a way that is going to ultimately lead to likely a lower sale price, which obviously everyone wants to avoid. So, big recommendation, avoid overpricing your home at all costs. This is a general thesis of mine for selling your home in general, but particularly where you're buying and selling at the same time, and you're going to deal in one way or another with time constraints. This is a big issue. So, clean execution beats optimism in this scenario every time. So let's talk about the biggest mistakes, and these can apply throughout all of the 4 options. So let's just cover them briefly. So the first one, part and parcel with what I just said, waiting to list until after finding a home. Even if you are doing buy first, then sell, there should be a slight overlap in the timing so that you don't have these huge gaps between where you're either covering 2 costs or have nowhere to live for a while. So overestimating how fast your home will sell. This can be a problem. Obviously, it's still a bit of a seller's market in the Philly suburbs, but it's a little unpredictable as we start shifting a little more balanced, particularly based on the submarket you might be in. If you are in the hotbed of the main line, if you're in extremely desirable Jersey suburbs, if you're up in the Doylestown area, you might be able to rely on the speed of sale a little more, but outside of that, it can still be difficult. You're going to have to time it up a little bit. Underestimating carrying costs. These are another thing that can add up quickly. So this is why timing is key. So making offers without a clear exit plan. You need to have thought through which of these 4 scenarios that you think best fits your risk tolerance, your needs, and your goals, and then you need to figure out where you're going to exit on certain homes, where you're going to exit on your own home, and all of this needs to be a pre-planned situation. So you're not emergency fire sailing when it comes to it. You're not putting offers or getting contracted into homes that you don't want. This is how people regret their decision making. And finally, and I know I just mentioned timing is key, but chasing timing, as in trying to perfect that timing so that the buy and sell line up, is not as important as controlling risk. And controlling risk is specific to you. Some people are going to be a lot more risk tolerant than others. You need to understand where you are so that then you can align up the timing based on your controlled risk. But controlling the risk is the starting point, not the secondary point. So choosing the right strategy for your situation. Some other factors to consider that might push the needle if you're between a couple of these strategies. You should look at your own cash reserves, your ability to get liquid, your risk tolerance, just talked about that, the market strength of your current home, the competition level for the homes that you're ideally looking at. You need to compare these. That can help give you a sense of timing. If a lot of homes around you are selling really fast and the homes you're looking at are selling really fast, you might have a compressed window to work with. If either of those are changing, that should change your decision-making process. And finally, your personal flexibility over both the timing and the types of housing and offers you're either willing to move into or accept. All of these factors should be weighed on a personal level and then slotted into each of the 4 options so that you can determine which of those 4 is best for you and your needs. So, just some brief closing thoughts here. There are 4 scenarios to consider when you're looking to both buy and sell a home at the same time in the Philadelphia suburbs. Almost every move up transaction in the Philadelphia suburbs falls into one of these 4 categories. Sell first and then buy first and then sell, buy with a mortgage contingency, or use a bridge loan or some other type of temporary financing. These are the big 4. Each has trade-offs. The goal is not perfection. The goal is finding the option that best fits your needs and risk tolerance. So homeowners who plan the order of operations prior to diving into the game of either buying or selling your home typically see the best outcomes. It makes sense. In the Philadelphia suburbs, clarity beats urgency every time. If you're thinking about making a move and you're thinking about selling your house at the same time, I would love to help. please reach out and we can get started.